Hello and welcome to another video, and today I will be going over some updates for the 7th of August, and we have a lot to go over on a wide range of fronts. So I'm going to start off with Kherson and work my way up like I did yesterday. So over here we have some big news that, contrary to what's been going on recently, where Ukraine sort of tried to attack Andriivka and Lazove, and they even tried to launch attacks on Kisilevka. Now we're actually starting to see Russia sort of take back the initiative in some of the towns that they had previously lost. So the main example of this is over here with reports that there's fighting in Blahodatne again. It's not taken just yet, but if it were to be taken, it would be a problem for Ukraine, and I'll explain why. Basically, you take this area, and then you just have to go through these chains of towns. And once Russia would take these towns, um, these settlements, most notably Pervomaiske, which is the largest town out of all of these, then you'd just have an open field to go through to reach Mykolaiv, because there are basically no settlements on the road to Mykolaiv besides the chain of settlements that I'm talking about over here. So you take Blahodatne, and then that would be the linchpin for the attack on the cities that I have highlighted. And then from there, you just have to advance on the road. Sure, you'd have to overcome Ukrainian artillery, and of course, you'd be subjected to a lot of fire, but it would still leave a gaping hole in the Ukrainian front line in the defense of Mykolaiv, which has been pretty solid for months now. In March, it was almost encircled, and they were able to push back the Russians from their forward positions. But now they're being struck in the city, especially in the shipyard area, industrial parts of the city, and there are rumors from the Russian side that there will actually be an offensive. I can't confirm that. I don't know if there will, especially given the fact that there are offensive operations going on elsewhere right now. So it wouldn't be the best idea to attack um, Mykolaiv concurrently. Another thing that happened is I changed Olhine to be under the Russian control after further assessment of the situation on the ground over there. But um, Ivanivka, that's still under the Ukrainian control, and Visokpilia, the Russians have been able to hold their ground over here, although Ukraine does want to overrun their positions here and push back to um, around Dolhine and over here, like to this position, because they've wanted for a while to like launch this offensive into northern Kherson from Kryvyi Rog, but it seems like they are actually trying to do this now, because an attack was reported on Dobryanka by the Russian sources. They're saying that Ukraine is attacking their town now, and I had previously thought that it was under the Ukrainian control of this town, but I'm just gonna change it to contested for now. It probably will fall to the Ukrainians if they're attacking it, because it is such a small settlement that there isn't much to really fight over. So whenever that happens, I'll just change it back to the Ukrainian control. Ukraine, over the past few days, they reported a lot of strikes on the Russian positions in this area, and especially in the area of Kherson, Nova Kakhovka, especially. Here's a map of what the Odessa military administration has reported. They've talked about some strikes on depots, command posts, stuff like that. So this is what they're saying. Here's a map of the strikes that they've conducted over the past few days with our artillery, maybe with HIMARS, I'm not sure. But for sure, they did use like M777s and stuff like that. So you see some targets in Kherson, some in Donetsk, and then you have this strike over here on an air radar. That might be the power plant, and You have some in deep inside Zaporizhzhia, deep into DPR territory. So they are still capable of launching some attacks into the Russian um, territory that they control. That's like dozens of kilometers into their control territory. But if you look at the fire maps, you've seen a major decrease in the amount of fires that have been reported along the front lines and along Ukraine in general. In mid-July, that was really the peak. You saw many fires around Kherson, especially, and also around Donetsk, and also very deep into DPR and LPR territory. We're seeing much less of that. And now with Biden announcing his package of more HIMARS to Ukraine, maybe we'll see it go up again. Who knows? But Russia, they are in anticipation of a lot of these attacks, like the attack over here on Dobryanka. They've actually sent some battalion tactical groups to the Kherson region, at least according to Arestovich. He says that there are 10 to 15 battalion tactical groups that are centered around the Novokakhovka at the moment. Now, that could either be like a defensive thing where they want to just keep the front line stable, or maybe they do actually want to go on the offensive here, and that's why we would see the fighting in Blahodatne that I talked about. So that's something to look out for if they actually do want to go for Mykolaiv. It is possible. Um, I'm pretty sure it's like 20 kilometers away from the front line, just off the top of my head. But you can measure that. It's not that far away, but a battle in the city would be very costly for everyone. And I would think that a better way to go about the battle would be to sort of attack Ochakiv and then cut off the escape route for the Ukrainians. Um, we'll see if that happens. I don't think it will happen now, despite the rumors. But anyway, in Zaporizhzhia, Arestovich also talked about a formation of battalion tactical groups um, being organized in Tokmak, which is over here. And I'm pretty sure Ukraine also struck some Russian target in here based on the map that they showed previously. So maybe that does lend credence to what Arestovich is saying. It is possible that about like 4,000 or 3,000 Russian troops are being deployed to this area to reinforce the Zaporizhzhia front. Maybe go on the offensive later on, but I'm not sure about that. They're probably just there to keep any breakthroughs from occurring towards the Melitopol area. Besides that, there's not much going on in Zaporizhzhia. Now, in Donetsk, obviously, we have the most news. We have reports of a Russian counterattack towards the Pavlivka area and Vuhledar area. I talked about this yesterday. And we know that this town over here, Mikiliske, is now back under Russian control. Over the past few weeks, it's been trading hands. Like, I know Russia originally controlled it, then Ukraine, they took it over, and then it just kept on switching hands. Now it's back under Russian control. And this sort of gives them fire control over the road over here that supplies these two towns, which are very heavily fortified. There's not much. They're very small settlements comparatively, but given the fact that they haven't fallen despite numerous Russian assaults, it is safe to say that they are very heavily fortified, which would make sense because it is sort of the center of the Ukrainian defense around this area. If these two towns were to fall, everything around here is just open fields, and then Russia would be able to sort of advance deeper into Donetsk, along with the forces that are in Marinka. And it would be very ambitious, but if they were successful, they would probably want to go towards Kharkov uh, in tandem with Marinka. But for now, that's not going to happen. First, the positions of the Ukrainian forces have to be overrun in these two towns, Pavlivka and Vuhledar. which is what Russia is currently attempting. And speaking of Marinka, we have not really seen much of a change here. It is still contested. Ukraine is probably preparing for their withdrawal from the city, but for now they're still in there, and there hasn't been any changes that I can report of over the past 24 hours. But we did receive confirmation that Colonel Alexei uh, Garyan, he was the commander of a tank battalion in Ukraine's 54th Mechanized Brigade, and he is now confirmed dead. He died in Marinka on July 24th. So you are seeing some high level commanders, colonels, and stuff like that die along the front lines here. It just goes to show how fierce the fighting is in these areas around Donetsk, but no major breakthroughs just yet. Same thing goes for Pisky. We haven't really seen a breakthrough around here. I'm keeping it as contested for now because there are still Ukrainians in like the northern northwestern part of the city in some buildings. They're still fortified, and until they get dislodged, you won't see any other breakthroughs around here. The only thing that can really help would be to level these positions even more than they are already leveled. And Pisky is already very battered, so um, you can expect some more fierce fighting around this town. And then afterwards, we'll see some advances towards here. Ukraine is already preparing defensive positions around this town over here, so you might see another Pisky-esque battle around there. To sort of gain leverage, um, Russia did sort of occupy some farmland around here to flank the Ukrainians around the Novomykhailivka, which is another important settlement which is being used to coordinate attacks along the front line and to keep together Ukraine's logistics and supplies and coordination centers and all of that. So it is a very important settlement, and now it's sort of being flanked from the north, and it already is sort of flanked from the south. So you might see an attack on here in the future potentially. Now, besides that, there's not much going on this front line. It has been just static, and Ukraine has been able to hold the front line for now. In this area of the fighting around Bakhmut, we do have some changes though. So this minor town called Dacha was captured. It is very small, and there's not much to fight over here. Just a few residential houses and one road. So it is understandable that it fell because it wouldn't take a lot of effort to take it over. Sort of like Klatsove and Travneve and all these other minor towns around here, where we did see some footage from Travneve posted yesterday. So I'm hoping we'll see some from Klatsove and Dacha come out. But for now, this isn't really going to change the dynamics of the front line. What would is if Kadema fell, which it's not, but both sides do acknowledge that it is being contested at the moment on the eastern part of the town, not really in the center or west. So Russia still does have to overrun the Ukrainian positions around here. And then once they do, yeah, you could see some breakthroughs in the occupation of the heights around here. It's possible that Russia takes advantage of their control of Dacha to sort of take over this part, which is like higher elevation than the road, and maybe then they could like Kadema or something like that. But yeah, we'll have to see. Nothing changed in Vesela Dolina or Zaitseve. There were talks of attacks on Ivanhrad and Opitny from the Russian sources, but that's not confirmed, so I'm not changing anything. There were also talks about Russia reaching Krasnohora, but this just doesn't make sense to me, and we haven't really received any evidence of this, so I'm not going to change the map based on that. Now, in Solidar, we've heard that the fighting is continuing in the Knauf plant. I think once it falls, you might see a Ukrainian retreat towards the center of Soledar. For now, they're still holding out in the plant. Heavy fighting was reported today there, and it was reported that a minor advance was made around the suburb Bakhmutske. Nothing big. The reason for this is that the AFU, they've actually been making um, several counterattacks in this area. In the Bakhmut and Soledar area, there were 8 counterattacks reported by the Russian forces towards their positions, and that's pretty interesting because they're trying to just delay the advance as long as possible to buy time, and it's sort of working because we haven't seen much of a change in Bakhmut. Specifically, we have the 54th Mechanized Brigade, the 10th Mountain Assault Brigade, and a lot of territorial defense units and special operation forces that are being used to defend the area. And it was reported by Russians that there were a lot of German anti-tank mines scattered around the eastern outskirts, and that is certainly hindering any advances around here. Same thing with Soledar. There are a lot of trenches and bunkers and defensive fortifications around here, which are preventing a Russian advance for now. And we'll have to see how they deal with it because it is certainly slowing down the pace of the offensive around Bakhmut. Now, in Kharkiv, we are not seeing much to talk about. Of course, it's just static like always. Nothing new around Husarivka, but I think there will be something that occurs there in the near future. It's now being confirmed by Ukrainian sources as well that there's fighting around there, so it is something to look out for. But around the northern outskirts of the city of Kharkiv, we're not really seeing anything. But the Russian sources did report that they destroyed another HIMARS system around here. They say that they took out one HIMARS near this town called Pyatigorskoy. So I was looking for it for a while, and I'm pretty sure I found its location. I think it's this place that is being referred to, but I can't be sure because there was no video provided as evidence of this. And yeah, maybe they'll release something about because they have done that for other HIMARS strikes, like the one I talked about yesterday, or the one that they did on Kharkiv previously, where they showed that they struck a building and they struck the second story of that building, and apparently the HIMARS were in there, which I don't know if they would fit. I'd have to look into that. But no, there wasn't any footage provided. That's really it for today. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.